I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our special meeting on Monday, June 10th, 7 p.m. Pledge of allegiance has been completed. Run into the purpose of the meeting of bond resolution. First resolution would be 24-0072 to classify the Highgrove well and water treatment plant project as a Type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, Seeker, Section 617.5, Subdivision C. Have a motion, please?
Motion to.
Yes. We have a motion from Donna, second. Second from Vernon. Any questions or comments? Yes.
What's subsection C? It says read resolution. I don't know if you read it, but the word is awful short.
Chris, did you have it?
Yeah, subsection C,
No.
New York regulations on SECRA provide three different types of actions. There's type 1, there's type 2, and there's unlisted. For type 1 and type 2, there's a whole huge list of things that the state propounds saying that they're type 1 or type 2. Subsection C for type 2 actions is the subsection of its 6 New York regulations, section 617.5. It's something like 50 different actions that are classified as type 2 actions. So when it says subsection C, it's just referring to...
Is there a list that I can look at that?
There is a list, yeah. If you have, do you have the resolution in
I
front
have
of
the
you?
resolution. That's
Yeah, if you search 6 NYCRR, section 617.5 on your
You don't have
computer,
the resolution.
it's gonna pop
Well,
up.
he's
That's the bond.
saying this is resolution here.
We can print that out
But-
for you if you want.
We should have had that, that should have been sent out before the meeting. I'm surprised it wasn't a phone call sent out before the meeting. Because subsection C could mean I walk on water.
So it specifically refers to subsection C9 and C13. C9 is construction or expansion of a primary or accessory appurtenant non-residential structure or facility involving less than 40,000 square feet of gross floor area and not involving a change in zoning or a use variance consistent with local land use controls, but not radio communication or microwave transmission facilities. And 13 is extension of utility distribution facilities, including gas, electric, telephone cable, water, and sewer connections to render service in approved subdivisions or in connection with any action on this list.
Now, there was one there about the square footage of the building. Are they building a building? Because we already have a treatment plant that was built for us.
I defer to them. This is just the regulations as set forth by the
The
government.
building came in there, that's why I'm asking you, because you mentioned a 40,000 square foot building.
4,000.
Oh, 4,000.
4,000.
So we have a building already. Are we building another building?
It is under discussion at the moment, which would be the best way to go with it. And so as soon as the engineering firm P&D comes up with their recommendations, it'll be
Why are you having a bond
discussion.
before we even know what it's gonna cost us?
well, they have done an estimate of what it's going to cost. So
With or
either
without a
they-
building?
Sorry?
With or without the
With the
building?
building.
And what's the matter with the present day building that was built by Rieger specifically for water treatment? There was a pipe put in over to it, was ripped up, not all the way up, about the middle of the parking lot it was pulled out of.
Yeah,
So the rest of the pipe could be there.
Yeah. The project would either be, and again, they're looking at it to either put a building there or use the garage. they're looking at either option to see what would be best fitted to do that.
Well, the best
So
financially
when,
would be
and
use the
for
building
all
that
the
was
construction
gifted
costs,
to us.
sorry?
The best would be to use the present-day building that was built specifically.
Well, I would tend to agree with that myself,
Hmm.
but if they come up with a reason they think it'd be better to house everything out there versus bring it back into that building across and repair the pipe that was supposedly damaged, I don't know, that's what we're waiting to find
Maybe it
out.
wasn't
The
damaged,
real
maybe it's still
purpose,
open.
the real purpose of this is to get, so we can apply for the grant to see if we can be, basically approved for the grant, is really the main purpose of going through this exercise.
So if we don't get the grant, are we still doing it?
No,
Yeah.
no. Let me back up, all right? So over the last 10 years or so, DOH has, on our water reports, have always indicated that we should be looking for an additional water source.
Do we have water issues currently?
No. Only when we get into the drought situations when it doesn't rain. And I think everybody's aware of that.
Have they ever checked the well over by Hudson? The end, the last well on the left, going west?
You mean by Patricia Lane?
Could be, I don't know. It's on the left, just before you go out of town.
Yeah.
There's no-
That was contaminated the same as the Rieger wells during one of the floods. Have
Well,
they
that-
gone back and checked that and put that back online?
That
And they
well
put the-
was only producing, and at the time, I believe, when it was tested, it was only producing 5 gallons per minute or less. And it just turned out to be a well that was just not productive. So it's been basically abandoned.
If they did abandon it, it fell right on top of itself.
It was.
The power board fell on top of the wellhead.
Oh.
That was brought
I
up.
mean, it's
It may be
been,
cleaned up
that thing
now.
hasn't been used in years, so,
They were using it up until it got flooded. They were
no.
in there doing something every week.
Then we're talking two different things here. There was a well that was put in on the property that is village owned before you leave the village, before the stream, on the left.
Yes.
Patricia
That's it.
Lane's on the right, and this property's on the left. And there's a fenced-in area where where this well was,
Correct. That's it.
or well is. But it didn't produce anything, and I don't remember the exact year, but it was less than 5 gallons per minute. A home needs more than 5 gallons per minute in most cases from a well. So it just was a non-producing well for the village, so we abandoned that, whatever year that particularly happened.
But since then, we have the well over on the old Spindler property.
Correct, we have those two. We have
You have the
Department of
Fireman's
Health.
well, Memorial well, that's
Well, we
going
can
on.
only use the Spindler wells when it's a drought situation, when they would seem to be an emergency.
Why are we restricted on our own well?
It's not our well,
not your well.
it's Spindler's well.
I thought we paid
Or
for
the
it.
current
No.
one, no. Not Spindler anymore.
I'm sorry?
It's not Spindler's well anymore.
Correct, it's, forgot the name, but yeah,
The fragrance factory.
Yeah.
whatever.
he owns it. He owns the well. And we'll be having discussions about that well and potentially us buying that well, so we could have
Did
a
we
backup.
drill it? I believe we were the ones that drilled that.
No, they did, I'm pretty sure, they drilled those. They
Well,
were
Spindler-
using village water and they were using the well water that they drilled. I can confirm that from Spindler family tomorrow, but I'm
That's
pretty
not
sure
part of
that's
it.
what I've heard.
If it was that their well, why were we charging them for water when they pumped it?
Because they were using village water.
Seems like
Out of
that's
the
more.
well?
They're using village water out of the well.
I-
No.
They were using water, well, go ahead, I mean,
Yeah, you had the metered water in the front, right by the overhead door. That's what they were getting charged for. And then the well in the back, those black tanks in the back,
Yeah.
that's not potable. They were using that for pools. That was their well.
Okay.
yeah, and over the last number of years, there's a chlorine contact tank in there, and so if it needed to be introduced into our water system, all of that is there. And it's tested frequently by our H2O guys, just to make sure everything is running and all all electronics are working properly. So we have that one, and we have the fireman's well, which is about 25 gallons, between 20 and 25 gallons, and that's running right now about 12 hours a day, 7 in the morning to about 7 p.m. at night. Yes?
There a well in the back of Knights of Columbus?
Not on the village.
There's a wellhead there.
No. Is it on Knight's property?
It's in the back. It's all the way in the back.
It's right off the parking lot.
Yeah, there must be a well that might have been drilled by them. I'm not aware of that one. But if it's just a casing, it really didn't, I mean, if there's nothing connected to it, then it's not doing anything. Not for the village, anyway.
What is the deadline for this grant application?
Friday.
So that's why we're having a meeting today?
Unknown caller.
Correct. We were notified last week, actually Monday, when we were having our meeting, that an email came in and said that that we needed to have a meeting, or it needed to be passed by this coming Friday. So once we got that information during last week, we were in the process of meeting with B&D, talking to the bond people, talking to the bond attorneys, and coming up, with this information for tonight, because it needed to be in by Friday. So we're getting letters of support from, we'd be asking for letters of support, we've always gotten it, so between Assemblyman Marr and Senator Skoufis. And that will be presented with the grant application. And it's a 60-40 split, so 60% would be grant, and the 40% would be responsibility of the village. Okay. Now, talking to the accountants at the moment, a bond was paid off out of the water fund in 2022, and working on for that exact amount of what that was. But based upon what he sees, that we don't need to touch water rates, we don't need to touch facility charges, that the bond that's there would be able to cover, when we get to the point of needing to start paying for this 600 or actually right now it's at approximately 775,000. But the way the grant will roll, if we get it on Friday, you don't get an approval or a denial until the end of the year. And then you don't see the money potentially until 2025. By the time this all would unwind, we're probably looking at building in 2026.
I thought we had no credit, like our bond rating was,
We don't have a bond rating. We don't have a bond rating.
but they're gonna give us money?
I'm sorry?
They'll give us money to do this?
Yeah, when they put the bonds out there for sale, we were able to find companies that believed in our processes. We had lengthy interviews. We had lengthy interviews regarding our budget situation. Excuse me, our current audits that are going on. They know everything. And we had interviews to show our worthiness and our responsibility and what we've done since we got into office to clean the backlog of bills that were not paid, and moving forward everything that we did to get caught up, and the money that we borrowed to rectify our situation and get back on our feet. So, yes.
Can you get a number? You just said something about $700,000. This is shown, is that our obligation for the 40%?
Yeah.
And that we don't have to raise taxes, we don't have to raise water rates?
According to the
Right now.
auditors right now, no.
Could you rewind on what you said on that, about the bond that was paid in 2022, the reason why it's not gonna
Well, because the money that was being used for 2022, the auditor is suggesting that we use that money and put that towards, keep that payment floating more or less. And what we can do now is take that money that's in the budget, set that aside in a reserve fund for the well. So by the time you get to build this well, you'll have that money put aside for the payments. So we'll be ahead of ourselves when we get to that point.
And who's gonna do the design and construction, did you say?
P&D Engineering out of Middletown.
P&D?
P&D.
And Tom, I hope that there's this bond, we had a bond like this before for water wells.
Mhm.
I hope there's a better accounting for this bond if we go through with it than there was for the last one.
Well, between that and also the sewer plant, yes, I couldn't agree 1,000%.
You know, specifically that bond that we had was about the same amount, 600,000.
Well,
And we never had, I could never find an
I'm
accounting.
sure EFC will tell us strongly that, that we have to make sure that the accounting is done correctly on this, and reports are submitted and everything is done, so that the money is passed from EFC and it goes to the contractor, and it doesn't come out of village coffers, any money coming out of our accounts, like it did previously. That's why the A fund and the sewer fund were so damaged, because that money was floating back and forth. They're still trying to figure it out.
Well, I know we were still paying for that previous bond in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, trust me, it'll be managed tight as a clam, because that's what it needs to be. There's no other way of doing it. Any other questions, guys?
No, I'd just like to say for the camera and the people that are watching on YouTube that it's a disgrace that people in the village can't show up for these meetings. It's an absolute disgrace. And yet, everybody in the village, and you know who I'm talking to on the video, everybody in the village will complain about spending money and raising taxes or whatever, but they don't come out here to sit down and listen to you people explain what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, guys? Okay, we were really gonna get into most of that, what we just discussed out of the next resolution. So we have a motion, we have a second on the environmental impact quality review. Should I, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0, one absent. Next is the resolution 240073 to approve the bond resolution of the Village of Washingtonville, New York, adopted June 10th, authorizing design and construction of the Highgrove well and water treatment plant project, stating estimate cost thereof is $1,938,300, appropriating said amounts for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $1,938,300,000 to finance said appropriation. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Don on the motion, second.
Second.
Vern on the second. Discussion? Okay, and as I mentioned, this, the biggest part of this is for the grant that needs to be submitted by Friday, and it's a 60-40 split, and again, needs to be in by Friday so we can learn if we get accepted by the end of this year, and then we'll manage it through that point. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
That's one.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 and one absent.
Mayor, I would do a roll call on that one.
Do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, have a roll call. Trustee Coleman? Trustee Deputy Mayor Caruso?
Fisher?
Yay.
Okay, and myself, Tom DeVinto, yes. Motion passes 4-0-1.
I know that trustee Wilson is absent.
And yes, trustee Wolski is absent this evening. Thank you. Okay.
Why we got you here?
Pardon?
Why we got you here?
I know, that and the camera.
All right, next is 24007, for resolution to authorize a facility use permit form for the Washingtonville Middle School Jazz Band concert at Fireman's Memorial Park on Thursday, June 13, 2024, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Rain date is Friday, June 14, 2024. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve this.
Don is on the motion. Second. Second, Steve. Questions, comments? All
They're
in
gonna play
favor?
there? They're gonna play?
I'm sorry?
Are they practicing or playing, or what are they
They're
doing?
playing.
Yeah?
It's kind of informal. They've been, I think, trying to do this. They were gonna do it last year, but I think it rained. And,
1 to 4, kind of an awkward time, but
yeah, I think they just get together and they play music.
They do things, I think, in honor of Flag Day, you know,
Did you use the
patriotic
water screen
songs.
there?
No. All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion in a second?
Passes,
Yes, motion
Okay,
is second.
sorry.
yep. 4-0-1, that's
Done.
Wolski,
Okay.
absent. Okay. Any other public comment? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second to adjourn.
Second.
Any questions on that? All in favor? Motion passes 4-0-1.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Bye, Mr. Shaw.